Tonight we making honey, garlic, lemon pepper, chicken thighs. Let's get into it.
Okay, wait, that
I like the Barry White delivery. I can see why he's gone viral on TikTok. That voice.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How do you get this camera angle? My goodness, we are
It's a
joined.
macro lens right there.
Oh, is it? Like, is it a headpiece? We'll find out. Devon Moseley, better known as RoyaleEats, is defining the meaning of home cook just in time for the release of his new book. Let's get into it. So, good morning, Devon. Are you with us this morning? Where are you coming from?
I am. It's a pleasure to be here, located in Maryland at the moment.
Maryland. And did we get it right? Is it RoyaleEats or RoyaleEats?
RoyaleEats.
Royale.
Oh, Royale.
Royale with cheese. Are you a Pulp Fiction fan?
A little bit.
I just remember the Royale with cheese. Yeah, that's right.
All right, sir, how did this begin? And then you got to tell us how you got on TikTok and really took off.
Yeah, well, I've always had a love for food. I come from a family that, they find any excuse, to cook anything. If there's a positive thing going on, we're going to get together, and enjoy good food. And, as far as what I do with RoyaleEats, that just came upon a time where, we had a lot of time on our hands in the country, so, during that time, I was just making food and, posting on social media, just showing what I made for the day. And I had a lot of friends and family that suggested that I start a food page. And, it just took a life of its own. I was just looking to make good food and, show what I was doing. And, people gravitated towards it. And I saw a place where I could serve people.
You have a really great voice as well, which I'm sure helps in your videos and all that. Okay, so you alluded to this starting kind of during the pandemic. You were just doing your thing. You shared it. What were the recipes early on that really connected with folks?
Well, yeah, you just showed one, the honey, garlic, lemon pepper chicken thighs. A lot of people really loved that one. And it's funny because I remember making that one. I was tired. I had a long day, from work, and I was just like, I need to make something. That was a recipe, I had really worked hard on, and I was like, whatever it does, it does. I wasn't looking to go viral or anything like that. I just wanted to show what I made and how I made it, and people gravitated towards it. I say I was probably one of the first ones, and there's a few more that we had, like the Old Bay, chicken wings, and a few more. It's just like recipes just kept going. The more and more I did, the more and more people gravitated towards it.
Okay, so I'm sure you were like most of us at first, where you've got your, handful of go-tos. But since this has exploded on TikTok and I'm sure other social media, obviously you're making a cookbook. Have you had to do some research yourself and learn how to cook things that you've never done before you went viral?
100%. That was the only way that, I can grow and I can learn more so that, I can show people more. I pushed myself to the limits and, studying just, the art of culinary and just how to connect with people as a whole, so I had to relate a lot to, what I learned growing up, but then also, just learning more just not only in making recipes, but, recipe development, being conscious of the measurements I'm using, thankfully, and I'm blessed enough to have a support system that's extended beyond the U.S., into Europe. So, having to use things in grams and ounces and, getting used to that.
You mentioned you're joining us from Maryland. I just found out during the segment moments ago that our director is from Maryland as well. Is that where you grew up by chance?
Yeah, I grew up in D.C. and Maryland.
And D.C. and Maryland. Okay, so is there any, in this new book that's just coming out, is there anything Maryland specific or Maryland influence in there? I know, what do you guys do, crab cakes pretty well out there?
Yeah, crab cakes is huge out here. Something that, is very niche that, I believe a lot of people, from the DMV area be able to relate to. I have a mumbo sauce recipe. That's a very special sauce that a lot of us know, if you eat at Chinese carryout. So I think a lot of people from the area will enjoy that one.
Oh, okay. I love the regional cuisine, going regional.
And you gotta get it right every time.
Oh, yeah.
Devon, my question for you is, because I cannot make a piece of toast without burning it. If you could give me just some subtle tips and advice, maybe a couple spices that I should use frequently with my meals, what would you say?
Well, yeah, I say it's from an all-purpose seasoning standpoint, being from the area that I'm from, I feel like you can't go wrong with Old Bay. Old Bay goes good on everything if you ask me. But, just having spices such as salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika, can take you a long way, having a good spice range. And, I'll just say approach everything with love. You know, if you're in a good mind frame and you want to make the food, you know, to be good, and regardless of how it turns out, you're just happy making it. I feel like that's half the battle right there.
I love this, and I love how you're kind of angling this for the novice chef. You correct me if I'm wrong, chef. I'm just going to call you chef. Do you need any prior culinary experience to really dive into this book?
No, no. I made this from the approach of someone that has never cooked a day in their life. That was the goal, to where anybody can pick up this book, regardless of your experience, and, to be able to make good food. I want people to be able to gain confidence and, trust in themselves, and be okay with if you make something and it doesn't necessarily turn out how you wanted it to, being able to go back into it and being like, okay, well, I picked this up and this went well. Well, I want to keep going and I want to keep learning, keep getting better. And the goal is for you to take these recipes and to put your own twist on it. So, we have some foundational recipes so that you can gain that confidence. And then, I want to see you build upon it and, and turn the recipes into your own.
Devon, my favorite question to ask chefs is, are you eating PB&J for dinner, or are you cooking yourself a beautiful display every single day?
I'm a good PB&J kind of guy.
All right. PB&J and chips, and make the pretty stuff for the TikTok.
Yeah, I've heard that. We get a variety of responses to that one.
Yeah.
That's great, because you just keeping it real. Some nights when you don't have time, got to go back to the basics.
With milk.
Chef, before we let you go, Devon, where can folks pick up this book?
You can find this, wherever books are sold, commonly Amazon, of course, but Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, all the book places you can find it. If you want to find a direct link, you can go to my website, RoyaleEats.com, where you can find a link to where, everywhere it's sold, and definitely hope that everyone picks up a copy and enjoy all the recipes.
RoyaleEats, Davon Moseley.
Woo!
Good luck with the launch, and a pleasure to talk to you, sir.